Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in, because in this video we are going to take a close look at some Pandora's ways to play. For the people who have no idea what is in Pandora's box is just a plug and play device that you can plug in your television. It can also be a VGA monitor, depending what kind of model you're having. But they are coming in so many ways, different ways you can play these machines. So therefore I want to give you my personal top 5 ways to play Pandora's box in 2021. So for the number 5 position, I choose the 2-player versus arcade machines. I find it a very interesting, unique way to play. And when it comes to these cabinets, there are so many a lot of different versions of them. But I just want to pinpoint the ones I have reviewed here on the channel. 2-player ways, and they are just very unique. You need to put some of these things together, like the first one, the Woody edition from the original Pandora's box store. It was a quite interesting project, really fun to build, but also to play together with your buddy. Most of these things come with a 10-inch IPS display, and I must say that the mainboard versions, that is something of a different story and a later of a new video. Because with the Pandora box mainboards and versions, there are so many of these things. But the Woody edition was a very unique project, because that was, I think, the only one that you need to put together actually like all the different parts. It was a DIY kit, and if you just want to tinker with it and just mess around with it, you like to basically buy a DIY kit. This thing was pretty unique. But most of these devices were like grab it out of the box, plug it in, and you could play some games. Depending what kind of mainboard is inside of. Nowadays I think they will settle them with an CX or an DX, because they are the latest editions, but the performance and overall are exactly the same. So one of these many versions you can get, I really like this mini arcade Pandora's box because it was lightweight. It was fully made of plastic, so this was actually like a plastic fantastic stick. But overall, if you want to have a nice looking device and you don't want to have all the tinkering with the DIY and you just want to play, that was a really great way. The joystick quality is the same like all of these things. Let's say there are like fake Sawa parts. The buttons are like the wrong travel versions that you can see with many of these Pandora's boxes, but overall they will do the job just fine. But a fun fact, with one of my displays, we had some differences. Yeah, as you can see, like we're having the glossy finish and the other one had the matte finish. There's something only that can happen over there, because what the hell. They are giving me like a dual screen, but we're actually having two different ones in my machine. But when you're going to take a close look on AliExpress with the dual, nowadays we're having a lot of different versions. I think there are around 5 up to 10 different editions with all different materials. But for the number 5, I give this to the dual screens, because it's just a unique, fun way to play. So for the number 4, I choose the single player arcade. This is just an actually cool way to play. Nowadays they're having so many different versions. This Ario arcade is a very nice design. I really personally like it, how it looks. Let's say the angle of the display, the way how it actually works with the menu, the main board, everything. But then overall, like the biggest problem I'm having with these things, the shipment is so expensive. Great example, like EO Gaming has the option to ship within Europe, and that saves a lot of money. But when you're having this thing sent from China, oh man, I did notice like some countries need to pay like $400-500 shipping it. So that makes actually no sense. So there are some cheaper editions out there, but this is more like the premium one, like fully made of wood and metal. Has this nice marquee, comes with an A button layout, and overall it comes with even some decent like buttons and joysticks. And that is what I really like about this. The only downside is the shipment. I bought it from the European warehouses, so the shipment was not too expensive, and overall it was a very cool product to get. And overall I like what I'm seeing, and I had a really fun experience with it. And again, this thing comes in so many different versions. We're having the full plastic fantastic, a full metal version. There are even full-size bar tops on AliExpress, but I just want to have this slim tiny edition. If you don't have a lot of room, this is just a great way to play and put this thing in your collection. The mainboard version, the same story applies always with Pandora's box. This one comes with a Pandora Games 3D edition. They also have the Plus edition, and we're having like different versions like the 3D Saga. But for the jungle, we will make like a top 10 Ultimate 2021, but we're going to do that later on this year when every single new mainboard has been released. I do like what I'm seeing with this device. It is fully made of metal and wood, what I already mentioned before. Quality, the design. So for me, this is just a great way to play. Therefore, I want to put it on my number 4 position. And if you want, you can even change the aspect ratio with this monitor, so that's even cool for the people who just want to play by 4x3 option. Number 4, the single player mini arcades from a friend from China. So, for the number 3, I have chosen the portable Pandora's box or arcade box. Depends how you want to call this. So the arcade box is portable and doesn't take up a lot of room and has a lot of potential when it comes to playing some old school games on the go, but also in your arcade. If you don't want to spend a lot of money, you don't want to have this gigantic machine in your arcade or living room, this is maybe a really great way to play. They are very easy to store, but also very easy to put together. But take in consideration, there are a couple of versions out there now here in 2021. This is just like the older model. It's a very common one, but you also can get it in different colors. There are like different shapes, but the idea behind it is exactly the same. So the joystick is the way you need to lock your system, but of course also for to play your games. So you just screw it on and that's it. I must say, there are different versions when it comes to the quality. That is something I need to point out. We're having like the Chinese layout, 6 button, 8 button, but the China buttons and joysticks. But you also have like the Senma clone editions. That is something you need to point out, and also having like full Senma real parts. So there are different ways to play. You can just hook it up with a 12-volt adapter in the wall socket, but it has like the option to add new batteries and make this thing fully portable. At the bottom part we're going to find these. Take consideration, they are not included, but you need to get yourself good quality ones. There are a lot of fake ones out there when it comes to the batteries, so there's a little bit of a bummer, so you need to be very careful with this. The portable game boxes are having different models when it not only comes to the housing, but also when it comes to the main boards. You can buy this thing with so many different versions. We're having the fake boards, like the really cheap horrible ones that doesn't even play MAME very well. But also like we're having like the key editions, the later and older models that can play Sega Dreamcast, Naomi, Atomus Wave and do a lot of great things. So but it's more like depending where you're going to buy it, because there are so many freaking ways you can get these things. But then overall, they are also coming with a 10.1 inch IPS Full HD widescreen display. There is no way of changing aspect ratio with like the previous model, so that's something you need to take consideration. The Pandora Key 7 edition, and yep, you also have this with a Pi 3 and a Pi 4 inside. Depending on what model you're buying, but basically you can also use this thing like in game console. You can hook it up to a monitor, and the reason I'm saying depending what kind of model, so this feature like the HDMI functionality is basically with every single Pandora, Gamebox, Pi, whatever thing. But then overall, when you're looking at the Pi editions, you can hook up a controller very easily, and this is not always the case when it comes to a Pandora's box, so take that one in mind. So for the number 3 position, I choose to put the Pandora or arcade box portable. It's a really cool way to play, and it's a really unique way to play. They don't take a lot of space, and they are easy to bring with you. So let me know in the comments, what do you think of the number 3, the portable Pis? Pandoras, whatever, don't know, brain fart. Don't forget to check out my second channel, the Wicked Brain Fart channel. Let's go to the number 2. So for the number 2, I have chosen to put the 2-player arcade stick. It's the first way to play maybe for a lot of people, but the reason I didn't put a number 1 is because it's not the most convenient way. It's a 2-player stick, so it takes up a lot of room. There are like smaller versions, bigger versions, 8 buttons, 6 button, metal version, plastic fantastic, there's thing. Oh man, there are so many of these freaking things out there. And the one here on the video has even trackball. That's by the way really neat. But the overall performance are most of the time the same. I know there are like when you deep dive searching for a Pi edition, there are out there, I know. But most of them coming with a Pandora's box. And also when it comes to the artwork, depends where you're going to buy it. We're having a lot of different sellers on the internet who's selling these things, but it's more like, what is the best one for you? And that is the reason I also want to make this top 5 to show you what the different ways are, because not everybody wants to have this gigantic 2-player one to play alone. Quality wise, it's more of the same. But when you're looking closely, some of these manufacturers or resellers having a full sound edition like this Mortal Kombat 2 or Mortal Kombat whatever stick it is. Because this thing is really badass. It has original Samuel parts and this thing plays very nice. The only downside I found is that this thing has only 6 buttons, and especially when you're looking at the Pandora's Box DX and the later Pandora game 3D, we're having support now for 8 buttons. But don't get me wrong, this 6 button layout is more than enough if you want to play most games. The 8 button layout, especially for the, let's say, the last generation of games. And if you want to use this thing like an arcade stick on a PC, you need to have, of course, 8 button if you want to play like the newer games. So that's something you need to take consideration. But if you want to have a plug and play solution, 6 button is more than enough. But you need to take consideration when you're having a Pandora's Box, the jungle of the Pandora's Box. Most people are familiar to my channel, know what I mean with this. There are so many versions out there. Like this latest DX version has the option to play vertical games, but with the Pandora game 3D Plus that is not possible. So it's such a pain in the ass finding the right one for you. But nevertheless, I just wanted to focus on the ways you can play. And I think a 2-player stick is just the right spot on my number 2 list. It's a great way. For me, it's like the original way, but it is not the most convenient way. Because now I'm playing alone with a gigantic Play 2 stick. So that is not really convenient. So for the number 1 position, I've decided to put the single player edition. And the reason why, because there are quite some different versions out there. The single player edition, we're having the wireless and the wired edition. And what I also like about these things, like you have the option. So if you just want to hook up your Pandora's Box to your television, you grab this tiny box, slap it on your machine, lay it on top or just beneath your television, and you can just play some old school games. You're going to get a single player controller. You can get it with 1 controller, 2 controllers, even up to 4 controllers nowadays. But in the end, there are so many ways to play. But I think this is for me personally the most convenient way. You can just sit in your relaxed chair, sit in your couch with some friends and just play the game. Move your controller to the other player if you like playing the game like the loser. Give the control to the next player. For example, we can't do this with a 2-player stick. It takes up a lot of room, a lot of space. It's not super convenient. Maybe you need to make a pedestal, something like that. And I think like the Pandora's Box, the wireless edition and also the wired is a super great way to play. So now in 2021 they have released the latest edition. They did some changes, some are good, some are just actually bad. But it's something you need to check out in the main review. But now we're having the same idea, we're having separate sticks, but you can use it just with a cable. Okay, but with the new 2021 model, the joysticks look exactly the same, but they did some changes. For example with the buttons. The buttons itself are not the best buttons I have seen, and changing them out will be a pain in the butt. But then overall the idea is also just not the same. With the wireless version we're going to get a separate main board that you can basically plug into your television, and with wireless connectivity you can just play your games and connect with your Pandora's Box. But with this version, we're going to get the main board inside the actually arcade stick. So everything needs to be connected with wire. The HDMI to the television, input of course 12 volt power supply. But what you're basically going to do, the second, third and fourth controller will be connected with your main controller. So in the end, it's going to be a little bit of a cable nightmare if you ask me. So is it less convenient? I think it is, because with the wireless connectivity that would be super convenient. So for a 2-player option, it's not a really horrible thing. So what you're basically doing is plugging in the second controller in the first controller and that's it. I think it's not a big of a deal, but it's going to be a little bit of a messy if you want to play with 3 or 4 players. But I just wanted to show you 5 ways to play Pandora's Box in 2021. I hope you really enjoyed this video and you have some better idea what kind of ways you can play, but there are even more ways you can play. Yep, I just want to pick out 5 different ways to keep it simple. I really like personally my number one position. The reason why is that if you just want to play a game, plug it in, if it was the wired or the wireless version, it's just a really convenient way to play. I want to thank you for watching. Consider subscribing, hit that little bell, become one of the Wicked family. Let me know in the comments what is your favorite way of these 5. And it would be great to have you here in the Wicked family. So hit that bell, give the video a like, and I will see you in the next video.